Liverpool pretty much cruising towards the title, even though they slipped up at the weekend. Fulham, but that was understandable. Maybe they were bound to do it, or were they? Anyway, it was Liverpool's first Premier League defeat in 27 games and first away league defeat of the season. At the other end of the table, Southampton fans this morning, you knew it was coming. Well, it came at Tottenham. 2 wins from 31 games and 25 defeats and 10 points in total with 74 goals conceded. It's a sorry story if you're a Southampton fan. And it was confirmed just yesterday that Southampton have been relegated from the Premier League. It's our understanding here at TalkSport that the departure of the manager Ivan Jurić is imminent. Would that make any sense, Simon? If he was to go today with a handful of games to go, they knew they were going down. It was a question of not if, but when. And now we know.
I think it makes about as much sense as it made appointing him in the first place. I never felt that there was an appointment that had anything about it that was exciting me. I assumed it's because they share a mother tongue, that they could relate to one another. I mean, I'm assuming he's got some football nous around him because the guy's certainly a successful businessman. But I look at the situation with Russell Martin, and I know that he was dissatisfied at the beginning of the season, but wasn't able to convey that message to the manager. I know it's a boundary between managers and owners that you don't dare tell them what to do. But there is a balance between saying you want to stay in the Premier League and allowing a manager to run a philosophy that's clearly harming you, at the same time as they're making an appointments. I don't know if he had an embarrassment of riches. Southampton is a good football club that's just got promoted in the Premier League. There'll be a desirable job there.
Yeah.
For this man to have come in and achieve virtually nothing. In fact, he's made them worse, if that was possible. And so I don't know whether he goes because the players have no regard for him whatsoever, so it's wasting time by keeping him there and seeding the toxicity into a dressing room that's already poor. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is they've been relegated for weeks and months. So you could have made this decision any time you wanted to. Are the optics of it now, are you being confirmed? Or did anyone think that with 10 points after 30 games that Southampton was suddenly going to perform a miracle and get out of it?
Martin, I'm quite sure you want your take on this as well. The story's running that Jurić has either gone or is about to go. My colleague here at TalkSport, Alex Crook, joins us live. Alex, what do you know? Is he out of there?
Yeah, good morning, Jim. We're waiting for official confirmation from Southampton, but I would expect that to come imminently, maybe as early as today. We reported when Ivan Jurić was first named Southampton manager that there would be a relegation break clause in the contract allowing the club to part company should he not keep them up. They were probably doomed to relegation when he came in, but I tend to agree with Simon. I think it's been an absolutely disastrous appointment. They've arguably got worse, not better. I think I'm right in saying he won 1 Premier League game. He's been trotting out the line for the last couple of weeks. Their only aim now is to avoid becoming officially the worst team in Premier League history and not eclipsing that record low tally of 11 points set by Derby. I'm not sure that's what the fans nor the players want to hear. I didn't understand the appointment in the first place. He's the polar opposite of what Russell Martin was. The squad was not built for his type of football. I'm told his man management left a lot to be desired. He pretty much lost the players within his first couple of training sessions. So this was inevitable. It's another disastrous appointment by Sport Republic. The question now is who they turn to next. Danny Roll is an obvious candidate. I know they looked at him when they appointed Jurić. They didn't want to pay his release clause at the time. He was Ralph Hasenhüttl's former assistant, so that would be another deviation in terms of style. Liam Rosenior, who you guys know well, who's doing well over in France, is another that has admirers, but I'm not sure that the Blue Coat group who own Chelsea would want to lose him from their group. I think in the short term, Simon Rusk will probably be placed in caretaker charge for the remaining games of the season and try and get Southampton over that line in terms of beating Derby's low tally.
Yeah, Liam Rosenior's an interesting one. Strasbourg in France, Ligue 1, 4th at the weekend after another win for Liam Rosenior. We'll watch for that. Jurić himself has suggested it was bad recruitment, Alex. That has a part to play in it. But let's face it, they've all had a part to play in it, haven't they? Russell Martin before Jurić, the rot had set in. There was contention that he wasn't prepared to change the style of play. And thereafter, it seems Southampton have been pretty much doomed for a considerable period of time.
I mean, you're preaching to the converted when you talk about poor recruitment. I would go back to when Sport Republic first came in. Rasmus Ankersen, one of their board members, was in charge of recruitment for a time, and his famous saying, If it ain't broke, consider breaking it. Well, congratulations, Rasmus Hankinson. You've certainly broken Southampton, not once but twice, 2 relegations from the Premier League in 3 seasons, 2 utterly avoidable relegations, really. Certainly the first time round, they had better players than their results suggested. Their recruitment in that January after parting company with Ralph Hasenhüttl was disastrous. They put Nathan Jones in situ. Clearly, he wasn't and probably never will be a Premier League manager. So it's been bad decision after bad decision. And I feel for Russell Martin because he was recruited to play a certain style of football last season to get Southampton promoted from the Championship. He achieved that. They didn't necessarily get the players he wanted in the summer. I know for a fact they held talks with Liam Delap and he decided to go to Ipswich instead because they could offer more in terms of wages. He wasn't the only player that Russell Martin wanted to sign that fell by the wayside. And barring Aaron Ramsdale, I don't think they recruited a single player who was good enough to keep Southampton in the Premier League. Their best player under Russell Martin was Tyler Dibling, but because of the way that he's been mismanaged and manhandled by Ivan Jurić, he looks a shadow of his former self. So a big summer ahead in terms of departures. I would expect Ramsdale to go. I think Dibling will go, despite this ridiculous £100 million price tag that Southampton have put on him. Carl Walker-Peters is out of contract. Somebody will probably take Taylor Harwood-Bellis. You're left with a scratch side at best there. I'm not sure it's a given that Southampton bounce straight back this time around.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. Alex Crook ahead of the pack as always. Ivan Jurić set to leave the football club. We'll keep across that very closely. Martin's alongside Simon back here in studio. Southampton, the relegation to the Championship was confirmed yesterday with defeat at Tottenham. And yet, when they won promotion in the playoff final from the Championship to the Premier League at Wembley Stadium, the owner Dragan Solak exuded positivity when he spoke to me that day.
Honestly, it's a 10-year plan, and we are just at the beginning. I'm glad that we had this sporting success. We'll try to capitalize on it, but we'll continue working on our long-term project to make Saints a real, stable, forever Premier League club. For that, we need to do a lot with the enlargement of the stadium, with the enlargement of our commercial capacities, with many things we have to do, because, you know, we are going to play with the biggest boys they are. And we are not afraid to play, but we also, I want to somehow provide the club the basis to be rightfully there. Not, you know, you can always have a luck with one generation of great players. It can last for 3-4 years. You can make good money if you let them go somewhere else. But what I want to do is to create a real basis that Saints should rightfully think they're Premier League club and actually aim for even more.
That was Dragan Solak a few months later, and they're heading back to the Championship. And Martin, they need 2 more points to surpass Derby of 2007-8, who finished with 11 points, the lowest ever points tally. Not being the worst, is that even a tag that's worth fighting for?
Well, of course it is. You're trying to restore a little bit of pride. Incidentally, Alex Crook, as much as I want to argue with Alex, you couldn't argue with anything that he has said. You know, the recruitment's been absolutely awful. Ramsdale, of course, apart from that. I'm looking at players as well that came in on free transfers. Fraser not playing for Newcastle, wasn't even getting a game. Lallana, we know, been a good player in the past. So, you know, not enough Premier League experience. If you want to stay up, you have to have that within the group. They never look like they belong to the top level at any point.
Yeah.
They couldn't bridge that gap. And also their academy now seems to have dried up as well. So, and there's been the likes of Bale and Wilcott over the years. A illustrious group of players have come out there. That seems to have dried up. So right through the club, there's an awful lot of, but recruitment is key now.
Yeah, and
they're
reviewing this morning.
But unforced errors, Jim, was a major problem.
Yeah.
Scoring, conceding goals from unforced errors. And when I see people like Tyler Dibling almost sulking on the pitch, they did a game, Chelsea game recently, he came off the bench to play, and I was expecting him to be bursting out of the blocks. He's a young kid at Chelsea. It didn't work for him, and he's trying to make a point. It's like, well, okay, no, look, the culture's wrong as well. So there needs an awful lot of work to be done there.
So
but they can bounce back,
Alex
for sure.
Ivan Jurić is either going, or has gone. Danny is a big Southampton fan. Danny, good morning. What do you want to say?
Good morning, gents. Thanks for taking my call. What I want to say is this. I suspect Southampton are probably going to go down again to League One if we keep the current owners. And I'll tell you why. I think it was very clear. I'm sure all of you guys would agree with me. It was very clear Russell Martin was not going to achieve results with his style of play. A great guy, very admirable, but it was clear months and months and months ago. Whether it was backbone or finances, I don't know, but they should have moved him on then, and they gave him far too much time, and I think that's when we were relegated. I think Simon said it, that we were relegated months ago. And I just worry with those kind of decisions, if we didn't have the wherewithal to see the writing on the wall to keep us in the Premier League, I don't know if we're going to have it to keep it in this.
Yeah, but Danny, Dragan Sola said to me that very day, it's a 10-year plan, so he's around for a long time yet.
True, and granted, however, I mean, if you now, I suspect, to be fair, we probably got promoted a year too early. Leeds were better than us last season. They're going to go up, we're going to go down, so fair is fair. But I just feel, if they got ourselves into the Premier League, surely you want to keep yourself there. And I just think, Martin said it a few minutes ago, he was right. We made so many unforced errors, and I just worry. I'm Irish. I live in Dublin. I've been a Southampton fan all my life. Yeah. Southampton's biggest issue historically is that they've always lacked fight and grit, and they've always lacked that little, like we've always had a Matt Letizia to dig us out, or we've always had a Ricky Lambert, but ultimately Southampton have always lacked that fight, and I just worry we're a soft team, and I don't see any reason why we're going to all of a sudden.
Here is Simon.
I'm sure Francis Benali and Glenn Cockerell will object to those sorts of observations in terms of lacked fight and spirit. I think the manager made a decision to play a certain way, and the owner's in a very difficult position because you've got a guy that's got you promoted. You have to give him his head. And then you've got a guy that's probably resistant to any idea that an owner can tell him that they've got to change their style of play, because you're caught. As an owner, you're caught. You're caught in having the audacity to dare to say to a manager, this is hurting us. It's not just Russell Martin that was guilty of that. It was Vincent Kompany last year, and ultimately Vincent Kompany got a reward. For Southampton, you look at Sheffield United last year, they went down with 16 points. They looked like they were in disarray. Wilder was in there, and fine, Wilder's now stayed in place. But Sheffield United have bounced back, and they're likely to get promotion this season. It doesn't mean, just because Southampton have had a dreadful season in the Premier League, that if they go down, that they're going to suddenly drop through the pyramid again. And the reasons why they did last time is because they had economic strife. They had a real challenge economically with the ownership model. They went into administration. There was a whole raft of things that happened to Southampton when you talk about them going back through the trapdoor again. This is not the same thing. This is not the same time.
Okay.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.